speaking to you from Kolkata. I am a teacher of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and today we will look into depth into what is Patanjali's understanding of Sampragyata Samadhi and Asampragyata Samadhi. These are the two main kinds of samadhis Patanjali has spoken about. So, when you sit in dhyana, when you start your meditation, what is the first thing that you realize? What is the first thing that you actually do? You may put your attention on an object. And when you put your attention on an object and you start your meditation, the first state of awareness which you experience is called the physical awareness state. Yes, this is the state where you have an experience of your own body, where you realize you are in the body feeling is there. This is a state where there is an experience of the object you have in mind, the physical state of the object. That also lingers in the mind when you go into meditation. So, my dear friends, the very first stage is the stage which is the stage of physical awareness. The second stage in Sampragyata Samadhi is the stage where now you have the mental awareness. This mental awareness is in the form of thoughts which you might have. Now the awareness of the body, the awareness of the physicality has gone. Now you are only left with awareness of thoughts coming in your mind. The third state of Sampragyata Samadhi is a state where you experience complete peace, complete calmness, complete ananda. Now this is a state which is a state of joy, which is a state of sukha, state of happiness. And this is the third state in the sequence of the Sampragyata Samadhi. Now the fourth state, if you look, is the state of the I amness, where the awareness is that I am the entity who is here. I am the person. I am the entity, as I said, who is in meditation. So that experience of the self, also called the I amness, that I amness is there. And that I amness is the last stage of the Sampragyata Samadhi. Now, my dear friends, if you look at all these four stages are connected with the presence of the conscious mind. These four stages are connected with the presence of vrittis being formed. These four stages are stages where fluctuations in the mind are still happening, where sanskaras, memories are still being formed. So here in Sampragyata Samadhi, the conscious mind is present, the subconscious mind is of course present. But when you further go into the next state of Samadhi, which happens with some amount of difficulty, in that state of Samadhi, which is called the Asampragyata Samadhi, in that state of Samadhi, there is an absence of the conscious mind. There, the notion of an idea, a concept, is no longer there. There, the yogi, the practitioner, is not even aware as to who he is, where he is, what is the time, what is the name of the object he was meditating upon, and what is the description of that object. So the mind element is completely gone. And this mind element, this conscious mind element, once it is gone, then what is left? Broadly speaking, what you're left with is the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind has the seeds seeds of sanskara which are latent, which have not yet materialized, but they are lying latent, lying sleeping inside the subconscious mind. When the right time comes, when the right opportunity comes, when the right place comes, when the right birth comes, then these sleeping seeds in the subconscious mind awaken up. And once when they awaken up, they start their karma. And karma leads to further vrittis and further sanskaras. So my dear friends, there are two essential kinds of samadhi. One is sampragyata samadhi, the initial stage, and the second is the asampragyata samadhi. It moves towards the final stage. But both these samadhis happen out of concentration. When we are practicing sampragyata samadhi, the concentration level initially is low, and then it starts picking up, and then further it comes down to a place, to a point, and then it disappears from the point also. Now when the mind starts disappearing from a single pointed attention also, then that is the time, that is the stage where the conscious mind has started disappearing. That is the time, that is the portion of the meditation where now the yogi, the practitioner, is slowly losing his conscious mind. All meditation, the purpose of all meditation is to do away with the conscious mind. And the methodology for achieving that is to concentrate the mind. When your mind is all over the place, when you begin the meditation, and then slowly and steadily you bring it to one place. When you bring your mind to one place, what it effectively means is, it is hovering in an area. It is not pinpointed. And the flow of the mind is still not continuous. There might be breaks in the flow of the mind, but the concentration has started. And this concentration, once practiced for longer durations, leads to an area where the attention is one-pointed, the attention is continuous, and the attention is non-stop. So this is the state of a higher meditation. And when you go further, that is when the samadhis start happening. And as I told you initially, there are essentially two kinds of samadhis which Patanjali talks about in the Samadhi Pada. One is sampragyata samadhi and the other is the asampragyata samadhi. Another interesting way of looking at these samadhis is, in the first stage, when you are concentrating, what you are actually seeing is a tamasic activity. Tamas means form. Tamas means shape. Tamas means having weight, inertia, non-moving. So when we begin our meditation, our mind is actually slow. Our mind is actually caught up in forms of the world. Our mind is not flowing smoothly, steadily, concentratedly. The mind is moving slowly in jerks, or it is walking like an elephant. But when we keep on doing this, then we reach the second level of the Sampragyata Samadhi. This can be connected to Rajas. Rajas is a state of mind where the mind keeps on moving rapidly. We know the nature of the mind. The mind cannot normally, naturally be steady. The mind has a tendency of moving. Mind has a tendency of being at 100 places at one point of time. So the mind essentially behaves rajsikally. So therefore, in this meditation, our mind is filled up with thoughts. Our mind is filled up with ideas. Our mind is filled up with various concepts, imaginations. And this also, once the practitioner continues with his practice, he finds that this too progresses further. Now, the third stage of Sampragyata Samadhi is the Samadhi where, as I told you initially, where there is a feeling of happiness, where there is a feeling of bliss, where there is a feeling of ananda. So that state of happiness happens because we are in the sattvic domain now. Sattva means lightness, sattva means goodness, sattva means happiness, sattva means in a blissful state. So what is sattva? Sattva actually means a state of prakriti which is formless. It has no shape, it has no size, it has no color, therefore it is light, therefore it is luminescent, and therefore it represents goodness, and it keeps us blissful and happy. So that is the third stage we move into. So my dear friends, we see when we start, we are slow, so we are in the tamasic state. As we proceed, we go into the rajasic state, and as we proceed further, we move into the blissful state of meditation. Now, I'm sure all those who have been practicing meditation also experience a time further than this, when they experience that they are actually self-aware about the meditation. They know what is happening to them. So the I amness is present. Now this I amness is actually a close glance, a close look at the Purusha, at the soul, at the Atma. Why is that so? You see, if you understand all this as per the Sankhya theory, as per the Sankhya 25 tattvas, then you will see tamas is something which is present in the world outside. And tamas is present in a big proportion. It is predominantly tamasic. And second, what is present as a quality is rajas. So tamas is the Panch Mahabhutas have a lot of tamas. Our senses bring the tamas inside. So the mind, it is initially focused in the world outside. So it comes in from the sense organs into the mind. This mind is the processing center for all the information coming through the 5 sense organs and all the information going out through the 5 organs of action. So the mind now is full of activity. The mind now is full of rajas. The mind now is full of processing power. The mind now is full of action. Now, my dear friends, this leads to thoughts, this leads to ideas, this leads to concepts in the mind. So meditation, when it starts outside, we start with tamas, we start with the physical awareness. When we are able to sit in meditation for some time, with concentration, we bring our mind inside, so it enters through the sense organs, it enters into the mind, and the mind, as we all know, is a constantly changing, processing entity. It keeps on jumping around like a monkey. So here our mind in this state of meditation, this state of attention is full of thoughts. And then from there, once the attention further comes in, it comes through to ahankara, and from ahankara it moves into buddhi. Buddhi is the intellect. Intellect is that portion of our inner world where we have the decision-making capability, we have the discernment power, we have the discrimination power, and we have the ability of our will. So here in buddhi, buddhi is the first evolute, is the first output from the mool prakriti. Prakriti, when it starts manifesting, starts with mahat and buddhi. So buddhi is sattvic. Buddhi is full of formlessness. Buddhi is full of luminescence. Buddhi is full of goodness. And buddhi is light. So when we bring our attention further in and we reach the state of the buddhi, we feel blissful, we feel happy, we feel in a state of ananda, because we are very close to Prakriti. We have come out of Prakriti, and we are also very close to Purusha. We are close to Purusha because the whole creation which is coming out of Prakriti is coming into Mahat, and Mahat onwards it starts the process of further creation. So we have the Ahankara, we have the Manas, that is the mind, we have the five senses of perception, the five senses of action, the five tanmatras, and also the five gross elements or the five Panch Mahabhutas. Now here if you see Purusha, Purusha means the soul, Purusha means the Atma. The only thing it can do is it can see. Otherwise a Purusha is infinite, a Purusha is eternal, a Purusha is changeless. But all it can do is it can see Prakriti. So it sees Prakriti through the peephole of the Buddhi. Buddhi is the individual intellect, and Mahat here is the cosmic intellect. So we see that the Purusha, the Atma, the soul, looks at the world, looks at this creation, material creation, through the Buddhi. So when our attention is come inside, from the physical world outside into the mind, into the buddhi, and it is coming further in towards the Purusha, then we find that we experience a state of I-amness. We experience a state of being with the self, because now the focus is on the Purusha, which is just outside the buddhi. This fourth state, which is called the state of Asmita, is the state where the mind is focusing on Purusha, and here it gets attracted towards Purusha, and here it feels as if it is there with itself. But what is happening is, as I told you, the conscious mind is present throughout. The thoughts are being generated throughout. Throughout these four stages, thoughts are coming in. Throughout these four stages, vrittis are happening. Throughout these four stages, sanskaras are being formed, memories are being formed. Throughout these four stages of Sampragyata Samadhi, new karma, new action is being planned, is being stored. Therefore, in these four stages, we find the presence of the conscious mind. But this presence of the conscious mind keeps on diminishing. In the first stage, it is pretty high. In the second stage, it is lower. The third stage, it is still lower. And in the fourth stage, it is virtually nil, but it is still there. So the sanskaras are being formed. The psychic impressions are being created on the chitta. Chitta, as we all know, is a combination of the three internal elements of the inner world. They can be called the buddhi, that is the intellect, the ahankara, that is the I am the doership, I am the doer, the ego, and the third is manas, or the mind. These three together are called the chitta in yoga. So they are constantly forming psychic impressions. So my dear friends, we see that when we actually go in for meditation, we don't reach the final stage straight away. It takes time and practice, but also the mind has to slowly, steadily give up and slowly, steadily give way. So the conscious mind is slowly, steadily dropped. Each stage it is dropped. When it reaches the fourth stage, it is dropped by a major amount, but the thoughts are still coming in. Now to move in to the next stage, the higher stage of Samadhi, the Asampragyata Samadhi, what is essential, what is required, is that we put a stop to all forms of thought generation. And this is done by using willpower. So when we intentionally put a stop to all the thoughts forming in our mind, what are we doing? We are ensuring that we reach a state of mind where there is no mind. Yes, we are consciously killing our conscious mind. Yes, we are consciously killing our conscious mind. And we keep on killing it step by step, point by point, till we reach a stage where now there is no conscious mind. So the thoughts which we generate towards the very end to kill all the thoughts in the mind can be called as the terminator thoughts. These terminator thoughts are powerful thoughts. These terminator thoughts ensure that no thought under any circumstance, any condition is formed in the mind. Now here in such a condition, when no thoughts are being formed, you no longer have the conscious mind. When the conscious mind is not there, there is no way that vrittis can be formed. There is no way that ideas, thoughts and concepts can be formed based on the knowledge flowing inside in our inner world. This knowledge in our inner world can come either through the senses or can be internally generated within us. So when there is no conscious mind, then there is no registration of fresh knowledge. Then there are no thoughts, then there are no ideas, then there are no concepts being formed. And when there are no thoughts, when there are no ideas, when there are no concepts being formed, there are no memories, there are no sanskaras, there are no new karmas which are taking shape, which are being created. So this is the state of asampragyita samadhi. In this state, since there is no conscious mind, that there are no sanskaras being formed, this is what ideally a yogi looks forward to reach this state. And the first state, the sampragya samadhi state, is also called as sabija state. Sa and bij. Bij means a seed. So sanskaras are seeds which are formed in the mind during meditation because of certain thoughts which are either being generated or being received. But when you reach the nirbij samadhi state, the higher samadhi state, nirbij means there is no seed. So there are no seeds of sanskaras because the conscious mind is no longer present. So it cannot register vrittis, it cannot turn them into sanskaras. So now there are no sanskaras. Sanskaras are actually working like seeds. If you have a sanskara in your chitta, then you can consider a sanskara like a seed, a chitta like a soil, and then after some time you will find the sanskara growing and becoming a karma. It will turn into a thought, it will turn into a word, it will turn into a deed. So a yogi, the purpose of yoga is to stop all sanskaras, is to control all vrittis, is to put a stop to all fluctuations of the mind. All the fluctuations of the mind actually happen because of the conscious mind to begin with. So when we are able to put the conscious mind to a stop, we stop production of all vrittis, all sanskaras and all karmas. Now a yogi has certain vrittis, sanskaras and karmas left. So what does he do with them? He actually sets out to burn them, and he burns them with the power of knowledge, with jnana. With jnana, with knowledge, it is possible to terminate our sanskaras. But even then, you can only terminate those sanskaras which are at the outer level of the chitta, which are on the superficial level of the chitta, which are sort of say active on the chitta. But there are other sanskaras which are hidden, which are latent, which are passive today. And tomorrow they may turn out to be active. So these sanskaras also have to be done away with. And that is what the yogic practice is all about. Now, my dear friends, in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali talks of an even higher kind of samadhi, which we covered yesterday, but I would like to touch upon it again as we are talking about samadhi. That is called the Dharma Megh Samadhi. So the first two samadhis, they are happening because of concentration. As we are moving higher and higher in concentration, we find our mind starts focusing on one area in one place, then moves to one point, and finally the point becomes so fine enough that the mind disappears from there. It is no longer present. But when you go further on this path, then the next samadhi is the Dharma Megh Samadhi. This samadhi is that samadhi where the detachment level is 100%. The mind is no longer attached to anything at all. So when the mind is no longer attached to anything at all, now there is virtually no, you can say, registration of thoughts taking place. It is not sticking to any idea, any concept, any notion, any imagination. It is not going into the past. The mind is as it is, absolutely dispassionate, absolutely disconnected. It is not showing interest in any area of life, in any point of life, in any object of life, in any object of this world. So that is why the final stage of the samadhi is the Dharma Megh Samadhi. When this samadhi is reached, we find a person is filled with a cloud of virtue, and that virtue is called Dharma, and the cloud is called Megha. And the samadhi means, the word samadhi means, it is made up of two words, sama and adi. Sama means balance. Adi means which has been there from very early times. So then a person reaches a perfect state of balance, and he remains in a state where now he is no longer connected to Prakriti, no longer joined to Prakriti. He becomes independent of Prakriti. Now there is nothing in Prakriti which can interest such a person. So he is free of Prakriti. He is free of the various experiences which Prakriti can offer to the Purusha now. And so the Purusha starts moving away from Prakriti and becomes independent of Prakriti. And by becoming independent of Prakriti, he receives Kevalya, he receives Moksha, he receives absolute independence. And while this disjointing is happening from Prakriti, while the Buddhi and the Purusha are separating out, this person enjoys omnipotence and omniscience. That means he receives complete power and complete knowledge in all respects. And now such a person has to even give up this if he has to go to the higher level of Kevalya, of Moksha, of freedom. So my dear friends, today we saw what is Sampragyata Samadhi, what is Asampragyata Samadhi, and I just went a bit ahead and also explained to you what is Dharma Megha Samadhi. So Asampragyata Samadhi is the Samadhi where the mind is gradually reduced in strength. By the mind, we mean the conscious mind. And in Asampragyata Samadhi, the thoughts which are still coming in the conscious mind are put to a complete stop, are put to a complete nirodha, a complete control, and then there are no more thoughts coming. When there are no more thoughts coming, that is the stage where the practitioner, the sadhak, the yogi reaches a state where he has no idea who he is, where he is, what he was doing, the name of the object he was meditating upon, the description of the object he was meditating upon. He has no idea of the time and space the yogi is in. This is a sampragyata samadhi, but this samadhi is also not the final stage. The final stage comes when there is complete detachment from Prakriti, complete detachment of the Purusha and the Prakriti. The last detachment point from Prakriti is through Buddhi, because the Purusha has been looking into Prakriti, into this world through the Buddhi, through the intellect, because the Buddhi is sattvic, and this nature more or less matches the nature of the Purusha. Therefore, the Purusha looks at Prakriti through the Buddhi, and as the Buddhi becomes more and more sattvic, the Purusha realizes now there is nothing to be seen inside the Prakriti, because all the experiences he has taken. So he starts disjointing, he starts moving away and achieves Kevalya, complete freedom. So my friends, I thank you for being here and trying to understand this esoteric knowledge of yoga, trying to understand the Nirbhit Samadhi and the Sabhit Samadhi. The meditation starts with Sabhit Samadhi and then goes on to Nirbhit Samadhi. So these kind of samadhis allow one to completely disengage from Prakriti, realize that we are the Purusha and the Prakriti separate, but together in the same creation. So this leads to complete joyful, sorrowless living, and this is the ultimate goal of yoga, to reach that state of existence where the Purusha is independent of Prakriti and is free from all kinds of sorrow. I thank you immensely again for being here today, and I'm sure you would have picked up a point or two on how to experience permanent happiness in your life and how to bring about permanent happiness for your family members. We hope and pray that you are able to teach them how to obtain this permanent happiness through yogic knowledge, and you can help people in our society achieve permanent happiness. You can help people of our country achieve permanent happiness, and you can help in bringing permanent happiness to the people of this world. Thank you so much. God bless you. See you tomorrow.